All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this live stream. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. They keep the channel going and make awesome interviews with awesome guests like Thaddeus from Reasoned Answers Possible. Thaddeus, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me on today. It's been a while since you and I got to talk, and I'm very excited to get everyone who may have not been paying that close attention to the Hijab hotel scandal up to date on the most important information. It's been going on for a couple months now, and I thought this was a really great opportunity when Islam Critique proposed it to get a succinct summary of the most important information out there.
I have a new name for you today. Can we go with Dr. Dawa? Not that you're a doctor of doing Dawa, but you're a doctor of dissecting Dawa, as
Hmm.
you're about to prove. So, yeah, Dr. Dawa with us. Yeah, basically, I mentioned to Thaddeus that there's a lot of information out there on this, and a lot of it's in long form live streams, and some people, myself included, don't really have time for that, and so I wanted to get kind of a concise version of the Mohammed Hijab hotel wife scandal and associated topics, and Dr. Dawa here is definitely the man for that. So. Um, that's what we're trying to accomplish. Maybe we could start off. Is it possible just to give an overview, or is it too much information to ask for?
Uh, yeah, so feel free to stop me if it's too much detail, not enough detail. I'll give kind of the basic gist of the story here. So we, the public, found out about this 2 to 3 months ago when a channel called Behind Veils first published the accusations, and then they published numerous follow-up videos to that, kind of revealing it piece by piece. Seeing the reaction from Mohammed Hijab and the rest of the Dawa community, seeing how they'd respond, kind of revealing it a little bit at a time. But we now know that about 6 years ago, Mohammed Hijab met a woman who goes by the alias Aisha. It's not her real name, but for purposes, I'll use that name. Uh, and they just had kind of a normal relationship. They were introduced to each other for purposes of dawa. Little by little, he started what I would call grooming her. Started evaluating whether she would be a good candidate for a second marriage or third marriage. We don't really know for sure how many secret marriages Muhammad Hijab may have, but a candidate for joining his harem. Began to act as kind of a divorce counselor for her. She was going through divorce at the time, and injecting himself into her personal life as well as talking about dawa related stuff. After that relationship had gone on for about 4 years or so, he proposed to her to become his second wife, or as far as we know, second. Again, there could be more, right? There could be more, but as far as we know, second wife at the time. And uh, she was interested, right? She knew that from her perspective, the only thing that would be unusual about this is that she would not tell his first wife about it. We now know that's because Muhammad Hijab had tried this in the past, where he got an additional secret wife, and that woman had told his first wife she got irate, left him, took the kids, very nearly ended the marriage in the past. So Muhammad Hijab says, "Okay, I've learned my lesson. I'm going to continue sneaking around behind my wife's back, but this time I'll make sure that she doesn't find out about it," basically. But as far as Aisha is concerned, other than that oddity of him being responsible for informing his wife, it would be a normal Islamic marriage. Polygamous, so not what we would consider marriage, but normal from an Islamic perspective, in that he'd be involved in her life. She's a single mother, so he'd be a father to her child. He would spend time with her. He would meet her family, get to know her family, basically just be involved in her life, provide for her financially. He gets weird, cuts off the relationship, and then disappears, just starts ghosting her, and then comes back after a couple months and says, "Oh, it was just so emotional for me. I wasn't ready to handle it, whatever." And eventually convinces her to go through with the marriage after all. Within days of the after the marriage taking place, which he insisted be done over Zoom, not in person,
Like
So
all
be
good
done over
marriages.
Zoom
Yeah.
with cameras off, because he was afraid that the witnesses would film it and use it as material to blackmail him with. Like they'd say, "Oh, I can take this to your first wife and prove that you got married or whatever." So cameras off, over Zoom, proper marriage, right? Proper marriage
Right.
takes place.
Yeah. What wedding are you not worried about the witnesses to that wedding blackmailing you? I mean, that sounds very typical. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So in any case, within days of that ceremony taking place, they meet at a hotel to consummate the marriage, and then Hijab basically says, "This is just how it's going to be from now on. We're just going to meet at a hotel. It's going to be a hotel-only marriage," his words. "Sex-only marriage," also his words. "A boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship," again, also his words. All these are things that he said about it in his attempts to convince Aisha to continue. She said, "This isn't what I signed up for. This is not what I'm interested in. You promised that you would be in a normal relationship. So either you're going to follow through with that, or this marriage is not going to go forward." Hijab, after spending a good amount of time arguing with her, trying to convince her, finally says, "Okay, whatever, you can have a divorce." Then after that, he continues to send her text messages for months, uh, basically trying to convince her to come back. He's like, I gave you the divorce, but it was because of what you wanted, not because of what I wanted. So if you accept my terms, you can come back at any time. We can do this relationship." So after months of verbal abuse, in addition to being tricked into this so-called marriage, which was really just an attempt to exploit her sexually, she's like, "This is ridiculous. I'm not putting up with this." So she starts going and asking sheikhs and imams for advice, looking for people what she should do about this situation. In her words, she contacted more than 100 different sheikhs or imams. Some of them said that Hijab's absolutely in the wrong, but I don't want to get involved. He's a public figure. I'm not interested in all the drama. Others said, "Well, technically he didn't do anything wrong, Islamically speaking, so can't help you." So mix of opinions there on it. But she does eventually find an individual named Mohammed Tarani who is willing to help. Mohammed Tarani is kind of an elder figure in the community, well respected, and in fact has acted as a teacher to Muhammad Hijab among other Dawa guys in the past. So he's kind of has a personal relationship to some degree with Muhammad Hijab, feels like he can be useful in the situation, and tries to intervene. He ends up orchestrating what is a compromise or a solution that all parties in theory were willing to agree to, that Muhammad Hijab will issue an apology. I mean, obviously, he's just going to be saying some words. He won't be contrite in any real way. You can't force contrition, but he'll issue an apology, basically say that he was in the wrong and he shouldn't have done what he did. And then Aisha will be given the opportunity to appear on Ali Dawa's program and testify what happened in an anonymous manner, i.e. that Muhammad Hijab will not be implicated. But the idea is that she'll be able to say, Muslim sisters, be aware, there are men out there who would do this kind of thing. Be very careful with the type of relationships you're getting involved with. Here's all the red flags I should have seen but didn't, but was blinded to because he's just such a big, important Dawa guy or famous guy or whatever, right? Or right-standing Muslim. That interview actually takes place. Ali Dawa records it, and then he shows it to Muhammad Hijab, and Muhammad Hijab is basically like, "Ooh, people might figure out this is me. Let's delete this." And that's the end of the story. So now she's completely out of luck. The deal has been broken, and she's kind of at rock bottom. At this time, she makes a couple public tweets towards David Wood and Abdullah Samir, saying that, like, I have some information that may be useful to you. It involves Muhammad Hijab and a potential sex abuse or something like that. No one saw these. No one acted on them. But she made a couple public tweets. And the reason I'm mentioning that now is for context when it comes up later. As far as the time frame these were made, she does end up somehow getting in touch with an individual named Salman, who has a small YouTube channel called Behind Veils. That channel is dedicated to exposing abuse within the Islamic community. It is a Muslim channel run by Muslim for Muslims, but the purpose of the channel is to give voices to those who are oppressed by the cover-up culture of the Islamic community. They do their own investigation. They spend 6 months interviewing people, looking through text messages, so on and so forth. After they've done that investigation, they've basically concluded that Mohammed Hijab is definitely guilty. So they now themselves try to negotiate a settlement behind closed doors. Try to go to Hijab and say, let's resolve this privately. Here's the situation. So Mohammed Hijab initially says, I have no idea what you're talking about. This woman has just completely made up a story. I don't even know who she is. And they're like, look, we got text messages. We know that there was a relationship. He's like, oh, okay. Oh, I figured it out. That was a woman who used to stalk me. She kept trying to come on to me. I kept rejecting her. And she was just so obsessed that she ended up hallucinating that we were married or something along those lines. And they're like, look, if you're not going to be honest, we're going to have to go public with this. And then Hijab's like, okay, fine, go public, expose me. No one will believe you anyway. So they call us bluff. They publish the video, right? They make a video, publish it, giving Aisha's testimony of what happened.
So just to be clear, Aisha had talked to approximately 100 sheikhs and imams. One of them was a mutual acquaintance who went to Muhammad Hijab, posted a video on Ali Dawa's channel, at least for a little while until it was taken down. So lots of people are finding out about this. And then she goes to a couple of other people who don't get her messages. And then she goes to Behind Veils. And at that point, with all of that exposure, Muhammad Hijab still thinks that he can play dumb.
Yes.
Is that
yeah,
okay?
That seems to be the case. He seems to think that he can just flat out lie.
You said that their investigation took 6 months.
Yeah,
Behind Veils. Yeah, so that's due diligence. Do you think that maybe he just got comfortable in that 6 month time period? He thought it was going to blow over or something.
Right. So the marriage itself is now about 2 years ago. So he managed to cover it up for close to 2 years. He I guess is at the idea that, okay, I got away with everything.
Yeah. Okay. So he got away with it. He's shopping for his third secret wife or 13th, however many it is. Okay. And so he tells Behind Veils to go ahead and do your best. Okay. I'm caught up now.
Yep. Just one minor thing. So Ali Dahl recorded a video, but he didn't actually publish it.
Okay. So when you said it was deleted, it was never public.
So like deleted off his memory card or whatever.
Okay. Huh. I think you've probably looked more into this, but I think the reaction of 100 sheikhs and or imams is very disturbing, to only find one that would confront him, and even then not do so publicly.
Yes.
And ensure that his identity was in some sense protected by not mentioning him specifically in that video, which obviously didn't meet Muhammad Hijab's threshold. So at that point, he was still in the I'm going to get away with this again sort of thing. And okay. Do you have any feel for, you mentioned his actual wife, not the hotel wife, but then he tried the hotel wife thing before her at least once. Has anything been said by Muhammad Hijab's real wife about the second one, which is obviously much more public, or has anyone heard from her at all?
No, we don't have any indication. I would have to think that someone has definitely made her aware of it. Hijab has been very careful to not have anything directly tied to his name, but I got to think that she has been made aware of it. And I have no idea what she'll do, but given that one of the things that came out was that she left him for close to a year the first time she found out about this and took their kids with her, I would say there's a very substantial chance. And I think a lot of Hijab's actions in the post revelation are him trying to save save his first marriage by keeping it a secret, keeping it away from her. So assuming she's found out, I have to think there's this very substantial possibility we might find hijab in divorce court in the near future.
Yeah, she must. Well, two things there. She must live under a rock, first of all. I mean, he has to keep her isolated for her to not know about it. Someone as popular as he is in the Muslim world. I guess the other thing would be, you mentioned divorce court. What are we talking about here? She is a devout Muslim still at this point, who will go through the Islamic process, or will she be in a secular divorce court? I guess.
Yeah, she very well may, go through Islamic court, and then she probably won't get any real
Right.
justice.
Yeah.
She is his legal wife in the UK, so she does have the option of secular justice. But I have
Okay.
no particular reason to believe that she would go that route.
Okay. So we're at Behind Veils. They did their 6 month due diligence, and Mohammed Hijab says, "Take your best shot." And I think that's where we left off.
Yeah. So they went ahead and they published that first video, and then almost immediately there is a response from I'm just going to call not Mohammed Hijab for now. So Mohammed Hijab in a public tweet says that there are certain allegations against me, and also on his YouTube channel on a community post says that there's allegations out there against me. I don't plan to address them, something along those lines. And this will be my only statement. But in a public tweet, he slips up and says, "I'll be releasing a response video in 30 to 60 minutes." He ends up deleting that tweet. After he's like, "Oh wait, I just implicated myself as doing this response video," but it's posted on a channel with 0 subscribers called False Accusations is the name he gave the channel. It has the user handle at False Accusations UK. And I'm saying that for a reason, which will come up here in a minute.
And that's on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he publishes that video there. They found a couple sound bites. So it turned out that Aisha had published a few videos on a YouTube channel herself, just kind of like calling out hijab and the situation. But they took a few sound bites from those, as well as some audio that Ali Dawa, I presume Ali Dawa, we don't know for sure it was him, but we know that she had talked to Ali Dawa in public. Any case, someone had recorded secretly of her in which she says that she wishes curses upon Mohammed Hijab and his children, and a clip where she was describing the marriage or the whole relationship, and why she fell for it is she's like, well, I treated him, I viewed him as like very respected, well educated, scholarly guy. I viewed him as a god even, and so they're like, okay, we're going to say that she is committing shirk, calling Muhammad Hijab a god, and she's insane because she brings curses down on the man who sexually abused her, and therefore that's basically what the video is. That's Muhammad Hijab, or not Muhammad Hijab's response, is that this woman is insane, she's mentally unwell, and she is probably not a Muslim because she's going out there and committing shirk by calling people gods.
That's brilliant. I couldn't have thought of that myself, I'm happy to say.
Yeah, so
so that was the response to after this, so Behind Veils is doing their thing. That's the response to the investigation.
Yeah, I forgot there is a third. So that's 2 of the 3 pieces of so-called evidence they put in that video. The third was that they got Tarane to say, like, I don't want to be involved, or something along those lines, basically. Only Allah knows what really happened. Just leave me out of this. Well, as is going to be revealed later on, this is under pressure of blackmail. They asked him to do a full repudiation of everything that he had told, because he had been one of the witnesses that Behind Veils talked to. Muhammad Hijab asked him to call the reporters, as he calls them, call the reporters, tell them that you were tricked. None of the things you said was true. and to give me a vocal statement saying that uh, this is all false. And all he said is basically, I don't want to get involved. But it was played as part of the proof. Mohammed's job said that you have until midnight to provide this information, or else we'll go public with certain accusations against you. Uh, Sheikh Tarani ended up in the hospital from the stress. Um, I don't know exactly what happened, but probably basically he had a panic attack. I don't know that for a matter of fact, but from the description, it kind of sounds like he had a panic attack, ended up in the hospital from everything that was going down, all the public pressure being applied to him the private pressure being applied to him by Mohammed Hijab. So they get this statement from him, and that is the first response there from the Dawa side.
Okay. So at this point, Mohammed Hijab is blackmailing Mohammed Tarani
Mm-hmm.
and behind veils, or just Tarani?
So he also sent threats to Behind Veils before any of this went public.
Okay.
Saying that one of the things that he sent was, we have people who are willing to provide false testimony. We can make it appear whatever we want to say about you. We can get people to say that that's true. That's one of the things actually Ali Dawa sent that, but same idea, right? Same idea that they're working together, and Muhammad Hijab sent some less um, less veiled threats, like I can get you type stuff, and then Ali Dawa the next day says that Muhammad Hijab has a bunch of witnesses, and they're willing to testify that you did X, right? He doesn't specifically say false testimony, but I mean that's the implication, right? That they can get their buddies to testify whatever they want on the public record. So are you sure you want to expose this, right? Are you sure you want to go public and go to war? Because we can take you down just as easily as you can take us down. Now, problem for them is, one, Salman is not like a 1 million subscriber YouTube channel. He
Yeah.
doesn't really have that much to lose. And two, the whole reason he started the YouTube channel is because of his personal experience, where he had some issues with his ex-wife, and she was, somewhat a significant figure in the local community, and as a result, the community kind of turned on him and tried to cover up the whole situation involved there, and so it's like personal for him as well because he has this personal experience with the culture of cover up.
Hmm. I have to say, at this point, their Hijab and others, their strategy is dumber than I thought it was. Um,
Yes.
I mean, it's hard not to laugh. I mean, it's really serious because of what happened to Aisha and Hijab's actual wife, and so forth. But their antics are hilariously stupid. I mean, it's hilarious. So do you know if the blackmail and the threats, was it like take your best shot and then he started the blackmail and the threats, or was it a buildup of threats and then
I
okay, fine?
Yeah, I believe that he was probably, maybe they weren't super explicit, but he was pulling strings behind scenes for a long time. I believe he was also spreading rumors about Aisha. So in the second phase of Behind Veils, they end up, or maybe it's the third, whatever. Soon after this, they end up publishing all the text conversations between Muhammad Hijab and Aisha, from her, obviously, not from Muhammad Hijab. Uh, but his original threat to her is, if you go public, I'll basically say that you were bad in bed and I divorced you because you were not a good wife. And everyone will believe me. No one will believe you. Your reputation will be in the trash. So I believe he was probably already trying to spread these types of rumors behind closed doors as well, within the Dawa community, saying that here's all the things wrong with this woman. Here's why you don't want her to be your wife or whatever. And she's now twice divorced. So, I mean, she's basically garbage from an Islamic point of view to begin with. And then he's like, I'll just spread all these rumors. You should probably just keep quiet. It's your best bet. And she doesn't do that. Right. Quite amazingly, I have to believe that between Muhammad Hijab and the other Dawa boys, they've probably done this to dozens, if not hundreds of women. And as has been kind of retroactively revealed through this coming public, we've gone back and we've looked at what they've been saying, and they've been openly bragging, right? Hijab went on a program with Daniel Hikachu, and he was just openly bragging about how he had, in his experience, the reverts are the best at taking these second marriages, uh, and here's what you do to avoid any financial obligations. You make sure that it's not registered in the courts. You make sure that there's no witnesses willing to testify, so that your assets are protected. And like, they're just openly bragging about this, all this stuff that they're doing, and Hijab and Daniel are just laughing it up as they're kind of, giving each other knowing looks, understanding what, reading between the lines, what they're actually talking about, because they're not like super explicit, but in retrospect it's quite obvious what they're actually talking about.
I hadn't heard the name Daniel Kikachu in a while. That's another true scumbag. So it's not surprising that he and Hijab are laughing it up like that. That's Yeah, he's another piece of work. Is it too early to ask what the initial reaction is from two groups of people? One would be sort of the Dawa fanboys, um, the diehards, the
Mm-hmm.
people who flood the comment section. The people, by the way, who you mentioned behind Vale's YouTube channel. I mean, that there's vulnerability there, right? Mohammed Hijab just sends his little fanboy drones over to report, and you know how that goes. And I don't know if it's still like this, but if you were flagged, if you were reported, you used to have to do a lot more as a channel owner to get rid of that. I don't know what the policy is now, but combating those sort of things, actually, you had to expose, show some information and things like that to the actual people who are spamming you. So there's a lot of really bad stuff that can happen with that. So two groups of people. Again, one would be sort of the fanboys, the types of people that Hijab would dispatch to flood the comment section of YouTube channels that disagree with him. And then the other would be the organizations that Muhammad Hijab is affiliated with. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
Dawa centers, whatever you want to call them. At this point in the timeline, do we have any reaction from these people?
Yeah, so on Hijab's first video that he, or not Muhammad Hijab, right? The first video post on the false accusations channel, the comments are somewhat mixed, but I would say definitely a majority of mostly Muslims commenting on this video are, this is shameful. Why are you responding in this way? Um, so it definitely doesn't look too great, right? It definitely doesn't look like uh, it looks like there should be a upswelling of support. It looks like there should be definitely some official reaction from other Dawa guys or organizations, but at this point we have radio silence from anyone else in the entire community. No one says anything whatsoever.
Okay.
They just all pretend nothing has happened.
When I first heard about this a couple months ago, I did go to Muhammad Hijab's channel, something that I do about once every 3 years, and well, it was that time, and just looking for that one thing, and I just went to his whatever his most recent video was, which it had been a while since he had posted something, which is unusual for megalomaniacs. And I saw the comments were just comment after comment. Like you said, they appeared to be Muslims by their usernames, and by feeling, you could tell that they felt betrayed in the comments. A lot of them did. And I didn't scroll too far, but I looked at dozens of comments, just kind of scanning through them. And I was happy to see that um, maybe the fanboys aren't as lost as I thought. I was happy to see at least some pushback. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, there are people who want to defend him in
Mm.
comments,
I'm
or
sure
say
we'll
this
get to
should
those people
just,
too.
yeah, we should be kept private or something along those lines. Or we don't. It's a said, she said situation, although he's not actually saying anything, and I just don't know what to believe. And I'm sure that there were Muslims who actually just legitimately didn't know whether it was true or not. Because I mean, it is possible, at least theoretically, that someone
Mhm.
could come forward with false accusations. Um, but I think that the response to the first video was not encouraging to Mohammed Hijab, and he soon gets Ali Dawa to issue a video. In that video, Ali Dawa swears several times, oaths to Allah, that Mohammed
Mhm.
Hijab had nothing to do with the video, he didn't ask him to do it. Well, I'm mentioning that because in a later stage of this, it's going to be revealed that Mohammed Hijab was communicating with a large group of da'is, including Ali Dawa, on and coordinating the response between them,
Mm.
kind of orchestrating it. So he swears repeatedly, oaths to Allah, that
Mm.
Muhammad Hijab has nothing to do with the video. And
Well,
in
then I
fact,
believe
Muhammad
him.
Hijab,
I'll go on
yeah,
the record. I believe him. Yeah. I mean, I believe Ali Dawa anyway, but if he swears to Allah,
exactly,
I think we
exactly.
can end this live stream now. Okay. Yeah. Innocent. All right.
So for the first half of the video, he repeats the same information that was in the false accusations video, while also repeatedly asserting that he was aware of this. He was completely unbiased. If anything, he was unfair to Mohammed Hijab because he initially believed Aisha when she approached him before he knew that it was Mohammed
Mm.
Hijab on the other end of the equation. Because she first came to him, he said, I don't want any names. I don't want to, I don't want to know who was involved. And he did end up, of course, finding out that it was Mohammed Hijab. So I believe she probably talked to him first and then Sheikh Tarani, but they were roughly the same time that she was talking to him. And Ali Dawa expressed interest in helping her, as did Sheikh Tarani. And then we already talked about the settlement that they ended up negotiating. So he like apologizes repeatedly to Mohammed Hijab about how unfair it was to believe her without getting his side of the story, so on and so forth. And then at the end of the video, he starts attacking Salman. So that was not done pretty much in the false accusations video. The new element here is now they're attacking Salman as well. And they're like, how would you like it if people just brought accusations against you based on the testimony of a witness, so on and so forth? We can go to Dunya. Dunya happens to be the name of his ex-wife, which also is an Islamic word for this world, but that's actually her name, is Dunya. So Dunya, we can go to Dunya and we can just air all the dirty laundry, all her dirty laundry on this channel. How would you like it if we did that, basically? And ironically, or maybe not really ironically, I don't know a better word for it, Ali Dawa actually had previously made a video defending Salman against the accusations of Dunya. He deleted that video as before this even went public, I believe, like days before it went public or whatever. But basically in the same time frame, he ends up deleting that video that was defending him against the accusations she'd made. She made some pretty unhinged accusations, like that he sent his sister to try to run her over with a car and stuff like that. So she'd made some pretty serious accusations against Salman. And they're like, we can just get her on here and we can air all this stuff. And then, so now Salman responds to that and says, bring it on, right? I have nothing to hide. Get all your witnesses, but just remember these two cases are unrelated to one another. I started this channel because I wanted justice in my own case. By all means, let's get justice in my own case and get the truth out there. But this is unrelated. Even if I'm the worst guy in the world, that doesn't mean anything about the innocence of Mohammed Hijab. So it doesn't back down in any way, basically. Turns out that Aisha had secretly recorded the interview that she did with Ali Dawa, and that ends up getting posted on the Behind Veils channel as well. So audio only, but she probably was recording with her phone in her pocket or whatever. Audio is not like perfect quality by any means, but you can clearly hear Ali Dawa and you can clearly hear her, and they're going through the story. And, throughout the whole thing, he's like, it's so good that we're bringing these things to the public light and blah, 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 blah. And then it just ends up getting deleted. And Ali Dawa, in his video, he puts that after the situation was developing, I believe Mohammed Hijab, although there's some dispute about who actually was sending the text message, but someone was sending him a text message saying, can we get that video back? It might be useful. And he's like, no, bro, I actually did delete it. So he had actually followed through and deleted the video. So he just doesn't have access to it anymore. But we've all seen it now, or at least heard it now, because Aisha was secretly recording it. So another piece of evidence drops there on that. Behind Veils also publishes the testimony of Aisha's father. He is confused as to exactly what happened because Hijab had been convincing Aisha to kind of deceive her father throughout the whole thing. He basically got her father to give permission for him not to be present at the wedding and to have a stand-in, because under at least three of the schools of jurisprudence, the woman's father should be present at the wedding. And so he wasn't present. He had a representative instead, based on her convincing him. And this was all before Hijab called off the wedding. And then when he got back together, like Hijab like kind of already had the legal paperwork in place, so to speak, from the father's agreement, and convinced her not to tell her father right away. Like, wait till after it's happened, then you can tell him. So as a result, her father's very confused as to what had happened, but he does testify that he met Mohammed Hijab, or over the phone, right? Talked to Mohammed Hijab over the phone for several hours, that Mohammed Hijab had asked for his daughter's hand. The only thing he's confused about is whether or not the marriage actually took place. So now you got another piece of evidence. And then Ali Dawa posts that video that he threatened to post. Apparently, he was not able to actually get Dunya to testify. Either she said, I don't want to do this, or they couldn't figure out how to get in touch with her, or whatever. So they end up actually playing clips from Salman's own video talking about the accusations she was making against him, and saying, oh, these are the accusations, everyone. We're exposing him. We're destroying him. And let me tell you, the comments on the other videos were somewhat mixed. They were fairly negative. In fact, Ali Dawa ends up posting on his video, LOL, I know only Christians are responding in the comments here. You can't fool us. No Muslim actually is against me. But the comments on the attack piece on Salman are basically 100% negative. There is basically no one who supports it. Every single comment from all the Muslims are like, this is shameful. I can't believe you're doing this. This has nothing to do with anything. You're clearly just this is just a personal vendetta on behalf of Mohammed Hijab, who is strangely silent, by the way. Right? So the Muslims, for the most part, the common Muslims who are aware of the situation anyway, are for the most part seeing through it, seeing the obvious games Mohammed Hijab is playing. In other words, their brilliant strategy, as you described it, is not even fooling their loyal followers. Right? These are the comments on Ali Dawa's video, on his own channel, from his own fans, and they're almost 100% negative.
So this is like rock bottom. I mean, where do you go from here? I mean, you've called in one of the dumbest Muslim apologists that I've ever seen, Ali Dawa, and he does something extraordinarily stupid. And it even gets ratioed by Muslims who would be some of the loyalist fanboys. Okay. It seems like Salman from Behind Veils is winning at this point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only reason that Mohammed Hijab hasn't faced like public outrage is because of the silence of the Dawa community. And we'll get to that here in a minute. Okay. You asked, where do you go from here? Well, where you go from here is you fake a confession. So the False Accusations decides to publish a second video called Full Confession, Game Over, in which Mohammed Hijab claims, well, first of all, the video starts by saying, let's make one thing clear. This channel has nothing to do with Mohammed Hijab, nor is it based in the UK. So the channel name, False Accusations, the channel handle, False Accusations UK. Mohammed Hijab tweets out publicly, I will release a video in 30 minutes, then puts the link to that. He ends up deleting it, right? He ends up deleting that tweet, but it was published. People caught it. Nothing to do with Mohammed Hijab. It's true. And during the first video, we did talk with Mohammed Hijab and we got evidence from him. But in this video, we didn't need to because the evidence came to us. So the claim they put in the second video is that Aisha had participated in a therapist counseling session at an Islamic institute. They had recorded it. And they leaked that information to the channel, which already is an ethical and probably legal violation for them to
Yeah.
do that. But they're like, this is the full uncut, unedited conversation. It's like 15 seconds long, 20 seconds long, something like that. It is unambiguously edited because they distorted the voice of the so-called sheikh doing the counseling
The
because
counseling.
they didn't
Yeah.
want to implicate him. And then if you take just Aisha's parts, which don't even really sound like her, and you run it through 11 Labs, has a 11 Labs very popular software to do AI voices. They have a piece of software that will allow you to determine if the clip was generated by them. They probably put some sort of technical markers in the file so
Mhm.
that they can tell if it was generated by them. If you run those through it, it says 98% confidence it was generated by 11 Labs. Not only that, Hijab in the video says we have run this conversation through some advanced software to detect if it was AI generated or not. Shows you the link to the 11 Labs test, and then they pop up a screen saying that it's 2% likely or whatever. But they tell you exactly how to reveal that it was AI generated. And I also did some technical analysis on it. There's other reasons to believe that it is not legitimate audio. There's like, for example, there's segments of absolute silence, which wouldn't happen in an unedited recording,
Mm.
let alone
Yeah.
a recording over the phone. The voice, the frequency range is wrong for a phone call, et cetera, et cetera. Many, many markers of this being not legitimate in any way. But that's where you go from everyone says this is terrible. You say, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll fake that she confessed that there was no marriage.
Mm. So it was Ali Dawa or Mohammed Hijab who said, we ran this through software to determine it wasn't AI generated. Which one did you say?
It was so it's on the false accusations channel.
Okay.
I
And
call it
whoever,
not Mohammed Hijab
yeah.
because I mean it uses like his vocabulary and like
Okay.
his way of speaking, but the voice is either generated or has been run through a changer to distort it.
Okay.
So it doesn't sound exactly like him, but it's using his vocabulary. He wrote the videos.
Yeah. And the videos start off with saying nothing to do with Mohammed Hijab, not affiliated with him. Also, so basically, if you take sort of the confession sheet of everything they did to generate their propaganda, they start off the video saying we did none of that, and then they give you the propaganda.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, these people are smart. I
Yeah.
thought
So
Hijab
that
was smarter than this. I've always known Ali Dawah was an idiot, but I thought Hijab was smarter. You know,
Yeah, it
like
is surprising, right? I mean, Ali Dawa, no one ever questioned his lack of intelligence, but
yeah,
Mohammed Hijab, we at least thought that he had a clue what he was doing. And I think it's just actually just blind arrogance, right? That he
yeah,
actually is just so used to
yeah,
getting away with this that he just doesn't even bother to try.
yeah, yeah. His arrogance is extraordinary, and that's a good theory. Yeah, he might be a pretty sharp guy, but he's just blinded by his own arrogance. Yeah. But he's definitely not coming off as very intelligent to this
Yeah,
point.
definitely. So now, after that video, Behind Veils drops the last video in the original segment or the original series because there is a second series now. But they dropped the last video in the original series in which they reveal the blackmail plot.
Mm.
They reveal that Sheikh Tarane has been blackmailed and has numerous voice conversations with Tarane that he plays where he explains the situation and how Hijab's coming after him, and he's like, I don't know what I can do, but if it goes to Sharia court, I will testify to the truth. I really don't want to be involved, right? I'm not really a public figure. I don't want my name dragged through the mud. He's done like a few like live stream appearances, and he occasionally goes to Speaker's Corner and stuff. So he's not like completely not a public figure, but he's not like trying to be famous or something either. And so he's basically saying like, they're coming after me. If you can defend me, defend me. Right now, I just don't know what I'm going to do. So that gets revealed. And then Ali Dawa releases a third response video in which he gives the genius argument that we couldn't have well, first of all, he swears repeatedly that I didn't blackmail Sheikh Tarani, which no one ever accused him of. Right? Everyone accused Mohammed Hijab of blackmailing, but he swears repeatedly that I didn't blackmail him. I've never blackmailed him. But he also gives the genius defense that no one could have blackmailed him because the accusations against him are true. And they were known before any of this happened, right? So apparently there's accusations of inappropriate relationships with women. Ali Dawah repeatedly says it's not sexual harassment, so I don't know exactly what it would be. Maybe like, he was just being too friendly with women at Speaker's Corner or something along those lines. But basically, apparently multiple women have accused him of speaking to them inappropriately at Speaker's Corner. But the defense is we couldn't have blackmailed him because it's true, basically.
I've always thought of Dawah as kind of of Ali Dawah as kind of a useful idiot, but he's definitely not even being useful at this point. I've always wondered about that, kind of the curious sort of relationship between Hijab and Ali Dawah. I don't know, maybe they're childhood friends or something, who knows? But yeah, he's not even a useful idiot at this point. He's just an idiot. Yeah, I'm looking at Behind Veil's channel now. I would have thought he would have gained more subscribers throughout this process, but yeah, he has. Well, 7 days ago, the Dawah Bros leaked messages, collusion, blasphemy, suicide, X-rated, Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawah. Why are they hiding? That's 13 days ago. Ali Dawah playing dumb or playing the Ummah. No, he's not playing dumb. Like, he is dumb. There's no acting there. And blackmail exposed the final chapter. That's what you just referred to. That was 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
2 months ago. So we still have a lot of information to cover.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after that response video, as Salman kind of goes quiet for a while. So in that, Ali Dawah thought he had this brilliant gotcha. He's like, we're going to send all these accusations to Behind Veils, and now they're going to have to investigate Sheikh Tarani. Thinking this is like some kind of dilemma, when actually all the options are perfectly fine, right? One, he could just decline to investigate it. Two, he could investigate it and say, okay, these accusations are false. Or he could investigate and say they're true, right? Because it's not really relevant. Whether Sheikh Tarani did something inappropriate has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not he was actually able to determine the truth of the matter, whether he brokered this negotiation. Sheikh Tarani actually talked to some of the witness, or at least one of the two witnesses for the marriage, and was willing to testify in court, Sharia court, that the marriage took place. So it's not really relevant. It's not much of a dilemma, but so Ali Dawah was like, aha, we got him. Well, it turns out no. The reason he went quiet is because someone had tipped him off that Ali Dawah also had done the same thing. He had taken a secret second wife. And so the new video that starting the second series that Behind Veils drops is that Ali Dawah, and in the video where Ali Dawah was attacking, quite obviously, Salman, he kept saying, we're just asking questions. We're just putting this out there. This is what you should do. You should ask questions. You shouldn't make accusations. So in the end of the playing dumb video, so the first half is kind of like how Ali Dawah was being very disingenuous in his attack against Tarani, and making these claims about, oh, I swear to Allah that I didn't blackmail him when we never accused him of doing that, and so on and so forth. Like he's just, playing word games. At the end of that, he says, oh, and by the way, I have some questions for you, Ali Dawah. Did you by chance take a secret second wife? And was this for the purpose of going on the Hajj so that she could travel with you to do the Hajj? And was it by chance, I don't know, just super random, October 2023, that this secret marriage took place? And, I'm just asking questions here. Did you have to divorce her when your first wife found out about it? So basically, and also that it was one of the sisters that had appeared on the Bitter Truth program a number of times. And then he shows us screenshots and narrowing it down to 4 women. So obviously he's saying that we've determined this is the case, right? Right? That this evidence, we've found this evidence. You've done the same thing. No wonder you wanted to defend hijab so hard, even though it made no sense for you to do so. And so that was the end of that video. And then there was a one in between that, in which basically he just tries to apply some more pressure, tells the Muslims, whenever you see Ali Dawa in public, whenever you see Mohammed Hijab in public, ask him about this, ask him questions, gives them a long list of questions you can ask them. And coincidentally, or I guess not necessarily coincidentally, but Ali Dawa, in a recent video that he chose to publish on his channel, someone comes up to him and says, "Hey, are you the Muta guy? Are you that guy I keep seeing on YouTube that's doing Muta marriages?" And I was like, "No, that's Shia. That's Shia. We don't do Muta." So people are like starting to ask him in public, and both he and Mohammed Hijab have stopped going to Speaker's Corner. And my understanding is that too many people were asking them questions there. Too embarrassing. So now Ali Dawa instead is just appearing at random locations on the street of London, setting up a little booth and having people walk up and ask him questions there, because he needs the content, right? He needs the content of having those conversations or arguments with people. But he's too embarrassed to go to Speaker's Corner because too many people are asking him the right questions there.
A brief comment. What has anyone considered making a movie about this? Because those final couple of plot twists, David Wood's Islamicize Me, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you could make this into a little soap opera. I mean, especially these plot twists, like, oh, by the way, Ali Dawa, do you have a secret wife too? I mean, that's killer. Like, this is a movie script. I think we should pitch this.
I agree.
We should pitch this to D Wood.
We should get this on TV, at British TV, right? Air it for all the British Muslims to see. So in the most recent video, so the people are wondering why Salman, hadn't published the follow-on video to the Ali Dawa accusations, right? It was several weeks before he published another video. People are kind of wondering, what's up there. He was releasing the other ones like every 5 days or so. And now we've had to wait several weeks and we don't have any updates. What's going on? Well, it turns out that apparently there was at least one Dawa guy with some sort of conscience and had given him access to a group chat, which is called a Hyde Park Dawa. So centered around Speaker's Corner, in other words, which has 75 members to it. I'm sure some of them don't ever check it, right? They just got added and they don't care. And others are probably like behind the scenes people, editors of videos or whatever, right? Who knows what they all are. But there's 75 people in this group chat and he's gotten access to it. And lo and behold, Mohammed Hijab has been posting in that group saying, let's figure out how to deal with this situation. And his friends are like proposing ideas. We can claim she's not a Muslim. We can claim that she's insane. Whatever, right? They're kind of arguing what the best strategy is. Mohammed Hijab says I'm releasing a video on a new channel that that has 0 subscribers. I shouldn't say just created, because he actually had created it back in 2023, right around the time that Aisha was asking questions and people were probably telling Mohammed Hijab that this might come out. So he created the channel way back then, but never had posted on 0 subscribers. He's like, I'm putting the video up there. I want everyone to go comment on it. And lo and behold, the Dawa guys are like, hold on a minute. Won't it be obvious that this channel is associated with you if we just all descend on it the minute that it's published? So in other words, they're conspiring how to better look like he's not involved, right? They're not saying, oh, this behavior is horrible. Why are you doing this? No, they're like, how can we better trick the public? Let's all work together to figure out how to trick the public.
Well, I guess that's a response in some way to my earlier question about how other Dawagandists have responded to this. That's really disturbing. That's disturbing all the imams and sheikhs that I should talk to who said either one, I'm not going to touch this because he's a public figure, or two, it's basically permitted in Islam, so it's fine. That's disturbing. And then you mentioned Ali Dawa's second wife, which I didn't know anything about. and the connection with the Hajj. Combine that with Muhammad Hijab talking about how his marriage was halal and using Islamic principles and beliefs to leverage his manipulation of her. I find this combination of religion and sexuality and manipulation to be just disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so someone reveals some of the other conversation happening in that group chat, like sexual jokes being passed around, like not necessarily directly related to the case, but just the guys passing around sexual jokes in this group. That's, this Dawa uh, fellowship group. They're just like passing around sexual jokes with one another, and they Mohammed up after he drops the first video, he's like, "We got more material." Well, the only material that ends up coming out in other videos is what the Dawa guys helped him find. So they found that Aisha, one of the guys, recognized her voice and said she's called into Dawa programs before asking questions. So
Hmm.
that's what what Ali Dawa ends up using as proof that she's not a real Muslim, because she called into a show for Muslims to call in and ask their questions, to ask her questions on the topic they were discussing, which was the reliability of the Quranic tradition. She calls in and she's like, I got questions. The things aren't adding up, right? Basically, um, I need some answers on how the Quran is supposedly perfectly preserved when the evidence doesn't seem to show that. And so that was their grand evidence then. She was a non-Muslim, was that she called into Dawa programs intended for Muslims to ask questions that were on topic.
Hmm.
So they connected that to her. Um, One of the guys suggests that, or shares a private email that she'd sent after being on the program, in which she basically says, sorry, I couldn't concentrate completely. I have trouble focusing when under stress. And like, oh, see, this is the proof that she's mentally ill. Um, when I think that most likely she's just completely normal, and because they didn't want to answer her questions, they kind of beat her down. She got maybe a little bit flustered, and then she feels she needs to apologize for it because they've made her feel so bad. But she's like, I did follow all the methodology you suggested, and here's my further follow-on questions, right? So it didn't sound unhinged in the slightest. It was just like her apologizing for, not being focused on the live stream, when it was probably their fault that she wasn't focused in the first place.
Hmm. Wow. What time frame is this? The actual. I guess you could take it two ways. One, they're trying character destruction to say she's not reliable. Two, you could say, well, she's not a Muslim, and further defend their immoral actions because she's not part of the believing community. She's just a whatever. But at what point is this character destruction of her really? I would say accelerating, but the efforts are so thin and frail and weak that
Yes.
I like. At what point is this character assassination attempted? What is this? Are we in 2025 now, or where are we?
Yeah, so the actual calls into the DAWA programs are, like from last year or wherever.
Okay,
But as far as like the character assassination, this is a debate that they're having in the group chat. Like, how should we best respond
this
to,
isn't
to what
okay.
Salman's put out? So they're making different suggestions about how we can undermine her. Like, knowing someone even asks, so no marriage took place because that was Muhammad Hijab's claim, and someone else is like, no, it was a
Mm.
Mishar marriage. And then it just gets, then like several people like give a laughy face to that, like, how you can do a little reaction.
Yeah,
They put a little laughy face on it. Oh yeah, hilarious that it was just a Mishar marriage. Or, well, he says Mishar, and then he puts a second comment, and then it got messy, yar.
yeah,
So like,
nice. Yeah,
yeah, so they all thought that was hilarious. They were all
that's a good
laughing
one.
about
Yeah,
it.
that's
Yeah.
that's a good one. Yeah, wow, those Dower Bros. You got to give it to them. They got some wit. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is happening like within the discussion, at least, is happening within like the week or so after the first video from Behind Veils is dropped. So
Okay.
a couple months ago now. What ends up coming of it is that Ali Dawa publishes a couple of the clips of them saying that, no, actually, I think just one. I think he actually just posted one clip of her calling in to a show, and he only plays like 10 seconds of it. You got to figure he probably like took the most damaging thing he could find, and it's literally just her. So like, um, Jaws happens to be the one who is answering the question, and he's like, so did I answer your question? And she's like, no, not really. I still have questions. And then he like cuts her off, and they're like, see, she's persisting in disbelief after getting all her questions answered.
Is this the same topic that Behind Veils covers when he says collusion, blasphemy, suicide, X-rated? Is this the same?
Yeah, so this is the group chat.
Okay,
I
what's
would
this?
definitely say it's not really X-rated, but
Yeah,
that's referring to the sexual jokes they're making.
and the suicide. What's that a reference to?
Yeah, so thank you. I had actually forgotten to mention that. But at one point, so when they're suggesting that she's mentally ill, that this would be a good strategy, of all people, Ali Dawa actually is the voice of reason. And he's like, well, if she's actually mentally ill, we don't want to push her towards suicide. And Mohammed Hijab responds, honestly, we shouldn't care. It's like, honestly, if she's an apostate and left Islam, we shouldn't care.
Mohammed Hijab said that.
Yeah. And Aisha,
And this is in
so
the the text themselves are actually in the video and Behind Veils.
yes, yes. Yeah,
What
so
a
Ali
what a
Dawa says,
pig.
we got to be careful. We don't want to actually push her to suicide. And Muhammad Hijab's like, yeah, bro, honestly, we shouldn't care. And no one responds. No one in the entire group chat says anything back. Ali Dawa doesn't say anything back. No one of the other guys corrected. They all just go along with it, right? Muhammad Hijab spoken. They have listened. They've heard it and they've obeyed. We shouldn't care. Okay, we don't care.
What a pig.
Yeah.
Wow.
So through it, at one point during this process, I actually got in touch with Aisha, and so I know who she is. I know the her YouTube handle and whatnot, and she actually responded to that video. She only because I talked to her privately, but I know that she has not seen any of the videos before they're released. Right? Someone hasn't like asked her to give approval on the final product or whatever. He's just put out what he felt he needed to put out, and so she's found out about the suicide thing at the same time as everyone else. And she left a comment on that video. We shouldn't care, in quotes, we shouldn't care. This haunts me, right? Because they're talking about her. They're saying that they don't care if she commits suicide. And you got to think that Muhammad Hijab, although he says we shouldn't care, he's probably actually thinking, I hope she does, right? I hope she does and this goes away.
Yeah, wouldn't put anything past him.
So one more thing to cover in the saga. So after Behind Veils publishes that video revealing the group chat, he says that he has the full list of 75 people, and he will publish that in the future if he needs to. But this is their opportunity to come out and say something. I make a public statement in advance. He won't reveal them if they reveal themselves, kind of so to speak. But he does reveal two people. One is Hassam, and the other is Dean Responds, because they are the ones that are the primary conspirators, talking about how we can get, how we can work with this situation and how we can distort things. And so after that's published, Dean Responds within like 24, 48 hours, publishes a video on his channel, which he does as a live stream. And in his infinite genius, he basically admits everything is real, right? Their best bet strategically would probably be just to either ignore it or, pretend it's false, that he just made up all the screenshots, a fantasy game or something. Nope. He goes and he says, he very deceptively showed the conversation because I gave good evidence that she's insane. I gave good evidence in the conversation that she's insane, and he didn't show the evidence. Therefore, he's just being deceptive, which I guess the argument then is it was okay for Muhammad Hijab to abuse her because she's mentally unwell. That seems to be the response of Dean Responds. And The video is like 40 minutes long. There's maybe like 3 minutes of actual material. He shows the so-called evidence that he provided, which were a couple, which was one, she tweeted at David Wood and Abdullah Samir, which remember I said that was when she was at the low point and wasn't getting any help from the Muslim
Yeah.
community, but hardly evidence of mental illness, right? To tweet at David Wood. That was his primary evidence, and then his secondary evidence was a blatant lie about a tweet that she'd made in response to a video claiming to be footage of Israelis shooting Palestinians. It wasn't. There was no evidence of any actual gunfire. But basically, she says, how could someone do something like this? You must be a grotesque individual. And he says that she's claiming that about the Palestinians when she's obviously saying it about the Israelis, given what the video supposedly is. And then the third thing he provides, and last thing, this is the grand total of his evidence here, is that someone like, as people do on Twitter, they post out like, questions, just try to get a lot of responses. It's like, name one thing that if eliminated from the world would make it a better place. And she said the Y chromosome. So he's like, this is evidence she wants to kill all men.
So this is Dean Responds, because I haven't heard this
Yes.
name. Okay, so this guy. Okay, yeah. Oh, he still has verses about Muhammad in Isaiah 42. Okay, well, all right. So we know where he is intellectually then. And so he's basically, I thought his treatment in your description, I thought it was starting in a different direction, but he basically got on with the character assassination attempts. Is that do I have that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. So
So
okay. So
he
another
does this
dirtbag
45-minute video. Basically, all he
Oh,
says
that's
in the
right.
video,
Said it was
I've told you
live.
everything that video says,
Okay.
basically. But
Yeah, I
he
see it
shows
now.
the conversations from the group chat to prove that he's not lying about it. But what he's doing is saying it's a real group chat. And like some of his audience, because it's a live stream, they're like, we need to find out who the leaker is. We need to get him. And he's like, bro, we don't care. We shouldn't care about who leaked it because we have nothing to hide. We didn't do anything wrong. Okay. You really take a look at that conversation. You think you did nothing wrong. And he's gotten many negative comments as well. It is more split, but he's gotten a bunch of negative comments from Muslims. And a lot of people are asking him, what about all the evidence against hijab or whatever? And he's like, I haven't looked at any of the evidence. I have no idea if he's guilty or not. If he's guilty, then may Allah deal with him. But what I'm just here is to set the record straight on who Aisha is. Totally disingenuous. He obviously has seen the evidence, right? He's obviously well aware. He was discussing it in the group chat. And so he's still like trying to claim in public that he just hasn't investigated it. He just doesn't know. But he knows that Mohammed Hijab's a good Muslim brother and he's going to support him no matter what. So that's his official response on that.
I'm just looking at the comments under his video that you referred to, exposing behind Veil's deception. Like you said, it's a live stream. You might be interested to know this woman continues to go on Islamophobic platforms. A little, he missed a word. He needs an editor. A little less than a week ago, and has a reference to some channel called Reasoned Answers. So I guess you're an Islamophobe, or Dr. Dawa, if you will. But the recent video comments, one day old, so forth, got some negative stuff coming. So that's good. Did your WhatsApp group make this video? Oh wow. Okay, we're just stacking up the dirt bags in this live stream. So Dean Responds is another one. Okay, and the other one you said, what was Hashim? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Hassam. His channel's called
Hassan
Dawa Wise.
Dawa Wise. Well, that's a contradiction in terms. Okay, let me I'll while you're summarizing that one, I'll go head over to Dawa.
So Hassam is so Dean so it's basically an argument between Dean and Hassam in the group chat. So Dean is saying we should paint her as insane, and Hassam saying that's not a good idea. That if anything, that'll make her look more sympathetic. It'll make hijab look worse. They took advantage of a mentally unstable woman. What we should do instead is paint her as a non-Muslim. She was on my program a year ago or whatever, asking questions about the Quran. This is what we should do. And then Mohammed Hijab pipes in and says, someone told me that David Wood was aware that something was going to go down. Does anyone have that video? No one actually has it. They don't actually. He just heard a rumor, but the rumor that they got to them in a distorted manner was that David Wood did indeed say that something was about to go down, but his source was Mohammed Hijab himself, because back in January, Mohammed Hijab went on camera and said, Elon Musk, I got information from someone in Elon Musk's circle that he's about to come after me and he's going to frame me for some sort of crime. So just be aware that if I'm accused of something, it's Elon Musk trying to get me. And of course, David and any sane person is like, okay, there's about to be some accusations made against Mohammed Hijab, and he's trying to get in front of those by making up this ridiculous story.
So, was there a winner of this debate between Dawa Wise and Dean Responds, or just Muhammad Hijab comes in and that's it?
So I think that probably has some, and I think this is part of the reason why Dean Responds did that live stream, is basically like for his own ego to say I was right, they were wrong.
Yeah.
Because based on what Ali Daw ended up publishing, I think they basically decided that going with the, she's a questionable Muslim, she's doubting the Quran was the better angle.
That's such a bad angle, though. You know,
I know.
I mean, everybody on the outside can see that. That's so stupid. Any further action by Aisha coming up, or is she?
Yeah, so there's definitely going to be more material coming up. Like I said, I'm in communication with Aisha. I'm talking to her about religious issues, but also about the whole story and whatnot. I suggested that we try to get secular news media interested in this, because Mohammed Hijab has given numerous interviews with secular media. He's been very enthusiastic about trying to get his name on big programs and whatnot. And anyone that's interviewed him, I think, would potentially be interested in this. He actually has a very public battle with Douglas Murray right now, in which he decided to take Murray to court for defamation, because Murray said that Hijab went to a rally of Hindus just to provoke them or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And Hijab's like, oh, that's defamation. That's not why I went. So,
Yeah, I heard about that. That was within the last couple of years, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
So, yeah, coincidentally, the oral arguments for the lawsuit took place like within the last week or so. Completely coincidental. But the point being that I've suggested that she get secular media involved, and she said that was a good idea, and she's attempting to get secular media interested in the story as well. Salman's video is quite clear that he has more information that he's going to be publishing as well. So there's definitely more to come in this story. Well, that pretty much gets you up to date. There may have been some minor details that we didn't cover, but that's all of the major details.
So the lawsuit that you mentioned, I didn't know about this with Douglas Murray at all. So the lawsuit, you said it was actually in court recently.
Yes.
Okay, which means it started months ago. If the UK has a timeline typical, or similar to ours, that would be great timing. I just go on the record saying that if Aisha was able to go public and Douglas Murray found out about this and was able to use his platform, that would be really good timing, almost as if it was orchestrated by Allah himself.
Yes.
I've wondered about the people that Hijab has appeared with in interviews, so-called debates, and so forth. He's been on Piers Morgan, which Piers Morgan lately is like an online updated form of Jerry Springer. He just likes to get people to argue at each other and throw stuff, and Mohammed Hijab's really good for that. I haven't been able to figure out if he has Hijab on for that purpose or if he actually values his opinion, and we'll never know. But I do, knowing the things that we know about Hijab even before this, if we just, dial the clock back, the things that he said about um, apostate prophet David Wood and others, uh, insults that he's made, and similar comments about suicide. You should kill yourself, and insulting David Wood's children and insulting the wives of Christian apologists in ways, saying things that when you read them, you know that this person does not. You know that the vast majority of people do not let things pass through their mind like he does in order to say them. If I hated you, I could not think of the things to say in the way he does, because I just don't have the cognitive environment for that sort of things. So we all know that. And how much research does Piers Morgan do? Or well, he debated William Lane Craig last year, right? And you just see that, and it's like, why are you giving these people any sort of a platform? Maybe that will stop if all of this goes public.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like in the UK, it would be interesting to follow Aisha's journey if she attempts this route, because if there's any public media that wouldn't want to broadcast incriminating information about a Muslim apologist, it would be the UK. They have no backbone, um, especially with, against Islam. So it wouldn't be the BBC. It's social media is probably enough,
Mm-hmm.
in some ways. So she's going to go public. Well, I look forward to following that.
Yeah, she's also pursuing civil legal action,
Oh,
looking into suing Hijab for slander. So, um, unfortunately, the UK doesn't have a law against AI deepfake. For unrelated reasons, I know that Korea has a law that you can be given 10 years of prison for AI fake. UK doesn't have a law against that, but obviously making up statements and putting them in someone's mouth and claiming someone's uh, mentally ill, and uh, you know saying someone is a stalker and out to get you and all these things definitely would count as slander. So she's
mhm.
looking into that as well.
And last two things: Ali Dawa's current posture on this. Can we expect any more genius moves from him, or is he pretty much at his wits' end, which was apparently a very short journey?
Hard to say whether he'll publish something else. I mean, he so far has made the most reactions. He's made the most content on it. I wouldn't put it past him. Like if Hijab says jump, he says how high. So if
Mm,
Hijab asks him to make another video, he definitely will. I don't know if they've kind of wised up a bit and they're not going to talk about it anymore. Interestingly, both Ali Dawa and Mohammed Hijab within the last few days published a video on the Epstein files, basically saying even if it's a Muslim, they need to be exposed. And it's like, okay, Mohammed Hijab, you need to be exposed, right?
yeah. Do you have a mirror? Yeah, and Hijab's position then, he's just trying to move on, I guess. As far as his, I'm not talking about any potential civil action or anything like that, but as far as his persona, his public persona, is he back to
Yeah,
normal, trying to generate
right.
content and all
Yep.
that? Okay,
Yep, just trying to ignore it
just
as best he can,
and
which I
trying
mean,
to
honestly,
avoid
is the
speaker's corner.
best strategy. Obviously, it's not the best. I mean, what would be smart morally would be to admit it and repent, right?
Mm,
But as far as like strategy goes, silence is probably his best option. He has nothing to work with. None of the truth is on his side. All the evidence is against him. So the
yeah,
only thing he can do is be silent. And so he does seem to have gained some discipline in staying silent. Ali Dawa didn't respond to the Secret Wives thing, which was different from the way they were handling it at the start, where they were responding immediately as soon as something came out. So I think they're going to both try to ignore it. Um, they still have the Dawa community, at least. They might not have the Muslim community, but they have the Dawa community willing to shield them and keep it. And this is a big story in a sense, but on the other hand, 100,000 Muslims maybe have heard the story, and Hijab has 1.3 million subscribers. Ali Dawa has a similar number. Their influence goes far beyond that. There's probably tens, if not hundreds, of millions Muslims who know who they are, at least have some degree of respect for them, and thus in the end, barely any Muslims know about this. Right?
mm,
We need the Muslims who do know about it and are bothered by it to bring this up when Hijab like goes and gives a speech somewhere. Someone needs to ask it in the Q&A. Like it needs to come up. It needs to continue to haunt him for the rest of his public career, or else he's going to just think, "Yep, I got away with it." And that's all there is to it. It is
Do you,
very interesting though that Hijab sued Douglas Murray, as we said, for basically nothing. It's not the first time he's threatened lawsuits or pursued lawsuits for basically nothing. Yet here we got what would actually definitely be slander and defamation, actually very damaging to him. If it was false, why is he not suing behind veils? Why is he not suing Aisha? Why is he not even threatening to do so? Right?
yeah,
The only threats are, "I'll expose you. I'll come back at you. I'll make you look bad." But that's not the way he's operated in the public sphere generally, right? It's been, "I'll sue you." So I don't know. Seems to be another admission of guilt. He's admitted guilt multiple times. On one of the episodes of Bitter Truth, he actually has a verbal slip up and says, "I was recently married." So as the episode is about secret wives, right? They do an episode of Bitter Truth where they're talking about secret wives and whether they're permissible in Islam or not. And he slips up at one point and said, "I was recently married." And then he doesn't like correct himself or anything. He just goes silent after that and someone else starts talking.
awkward. Do you know if he's still getting speaking invites to universities and things like that?
Yeah, he has actually put out a lot less stuff recently.
Okay.
So there's at least speculation that he's, trying to deal with his personal issues with his
Yeah.
wife and is not doing very much of anything. Obviously, I don't know that for a fact, but people
Mhm.
are speculating that. I have not seen any public appearance or any collaboration with other channels since the scandal came out. So there is definitely a possibility that people, at least privately, are pulling away from him, but publicly, no one's willing to say anything.
Wow, that's a shame. Well,
I do want to correct myself. There actually was one Muslim channel who said something, a small channel called Knowledge North. They did publish a couple videos analyzing the legal issues without getting into whether Hijab had committed them or not, but they did publish a couple videos, mildly critical of Hijab, and his behavior and whatnot, and saying obviously that they didn't know the facts of the legal matter, but if the accusations, then this, right? So there is one channel of, a very small number of subscribers, probably like in the 10 to 20,000 range, that did come out and say something about it. But everyone else has either been complete silence or they've, like in the case of Ali Dawah, just flat out defended him, or in the case of Daniel Hikachu and a couple other people, they're basically like, "Yeah, I have no idea if Hijab's guilty or not, but if he did these things, there's nothing Islamically wrong with them."
hmm. Well, we can hope for more about Ali Dawa's secret wife as well. I can imagine his method of going about things was even more stupid. And this should definitely be made into a series. We could call it Hijabicize Me, a parody of Islamicize Me, which is a parody of Islam. So now we're 3 layers of parody deep, and this really needs to get out. So I hope Aisha is able to do that and really just kind of blow up this whole pop culture Dawa movement, which is utterly absurd and transparently deceptive to everyone else looking in. But there are a lot of people on the inside. So thanks so much for being on here, and we had a lot of laughs, because these people are acting in ways that are extraordinarily stupid, but definitely some low points. What Hijab said about Aisha not caring if she died. It's very serious stuff, the way these people are being treated. And so the laughter's at the Dawa guys, but lots of serious reflection as well for the harm that's been caused to all these people.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for watching the stream, and for all of you who catch up after the fact. Thanks so much, Joseph, for that contribution. Really appreciate it. Any parting words for us, Thaddeus, aka Dr. Dawa, before we hang up?
Yeah, I would just say that the Muslim community, right now at least, is not willing to do anything about this, but that doesn't mean that hijab wins. I've spoken, like in YouTube comments, but I've spoken with plenty of Muslims who want to see something happen. And so, anyone watching who wants to see something happen, whether they're a Christian or a Muslim or otherwise, it is in your hand, right? You can keep the pressure up. You can take this video and share it with people. You can address it in YouTube comments. You can bring it up in Dawa live streams, whatever, right? There's lots of opportunities to continue to put the pressure on. And I would just ask for the audience to pray for Aisha and to pray for Mohammed Hijab's first wife, because there are two very obvious victims here, and also pray for Salman because he has done some amazing work and he's facing all kinds of pressure. Pray for their strength in the situation, but also ultimately pray for their salvation, because as much as they're undermining Islam and as much as they kind of need to be Muslims to do that, I still want what's best for them, which is, of course, to come to the truth of Christianity, to come to the truth of the saving grace of Jesus Christ. And so I just ask for the audience's prayer on all those issues.
That's a perfect ending to this conversation, Thaddeus. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.